Good morning. Oh, you can do better than that. Good morning. All right, everybody, welcome to Fall 2025 PDA. I cannot believe it's here, but here we are. Welcome back to the next phase of development, change, and evolution that is Santa Rosa Junior College. I'm really grateful to be here, to be in this role as your Academic Senate President. And before we go any further, let's thank IT, custodial, media, our groundskeepers, our STNCs, our AA 1, 2s, and 3s, everybody who made today possible. Thank you so, so much. We are going to start by acknowledging the land.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Linda J., and I am the Classified Senate President. I will be presenting the land acknowledgement this morning. This land acknowledgement calls us to commit to continuing to learn how to be better stewards of the land we inhabit. We recognize that every member of the Santa Rosa Junior College community has benefited and continues to benefit from the use and occupation of this land since the institution's founding in 1918. Consistent with our values of community and diversity, we have a responsibility to acknowledge and make visible the college's relationship to Native peoples. By offering this land acknowledgement, we affirm Indigenous sovereignty and will work to hold Santa Rosa Junior College more accountable to the needs of the American Indian and Indigenous peoples. We acknowledge that we gather at the Santa Rosa Junior College on this territorial traditional land of the Pomo people in Santa Rosa and the Coast Miwok people in Petaluma, past and present, and honor with gratitude the land itself and the people who have stewarded it throughout the generations. Thank you.
So we have a very busy, challenging year ahead. And last year, I invited you to embrace change, and I'm extending that invitation again this year. Change is afoot. We are making vast improvements in our participatory governance structures. We are embarking on a strategic plan. We are undertaking institutional change and building up our systems while they are simultaneously torn down at the national level. So we have a lot to be proud of, and we have a lot ahead. So let's stay focused on the local. Let's stay focused on what we can do here to build up our community, to build up our systems, and to engage all of us in this college.
Hello again. On behalf of all of us on your Classified Senate, I'm honored to welcome you to the 2025-26 academic school year and Fall PDA Day. The Classified Senate represents classified professionals' voice in participatory governance. We are sitting at the tables, engaging in conversations, and advocating on your behalf. Whether we are shaping administrative policy, organizing events, or sitting at those tables on committees, we keep your best interest at heart. Whether you work directly with the student population, work behind the scenes in our various departments, or you work to keep our campuses beautiful and our buildings running smoothly, we see you and we stand with you all. This year, we hope you'll get involved, reach out, come to a meeting, or join one of our pillars. The Classified Senate offers many ways to participate, connect, and learn more about how important decisions are made and how we can shape our college community together. Your voice matters, and your presence makes the difference now more than ever. As we find ourselves in a time of deep uncertainty, nationally, locally, and even right here in our own county and on our beloved campuses. We are witnessing a troubling history being made, increased restrictions on DEI efforts, attacks on immigration protections, limits to basic government support, including medical care, and rising threats to our LGBTQ+ unhoused, and marginalized communities, and an increasing white power entitlement. The rise in these restrictions and threats has only increased at a frightening pace since Dr. Stover spoke of this at our spring PDA 6 months ago. These issues are not abstract. They affect our students, they affect our coworkers, and even if they don't touch us directly, they likely will affect someone we know and love if they haven't already. And these issues will echo for generations. Here at SRJC, we must be prepared not just to respond, but to lead, to stand firm in our values, to be the open arms, the advocates, and the safe spaces that our students and colleagues deserve. And we must stand together. Our mission statement calls us to uphold an anti-racist environment and to stay centered on social responsibility and cultural awareness. Our vision commits us to cultivating an accessible, open, barrier-free, and sustainable environment for our students, for ourselves, and for our entire community. And our values remind us of who we are: a healthy and resilient college grounded in kindness, innovation, collaboration, and restorative justice. Community engagement and relationships built on trust, cultural competency, and interconnectedness. A deep commitment to well-being, both physical and mental, for everyone. And above all, integrity rooted in honesty, transparency, and ethical action. It will be imperative for all of us to live up to these values, not just as JC employees, but as human beings, and stand together for our students, community, and each other. Because also this year, another major shift is already here: artificial intelligence. AI is evolving rapidly without regulation or clear boundaries. It's changing how we work, how students learn, how information is shared, and how decisions are made. And the impact is already being felt. But we do have a guiding light: the vision of Santa Rosa Junior College, which states, "The college envisions equitable, impactful, transformative, enriching, and holistic learning opportunities that help our students not only succeed, but thrive." So let's hold fast to that holistic approach. As we integrate AI into our work and learning spaces, let's do it responsibly. And let's do it in a way that aligns with our commitment to teaching and learning, that upholds excellence, freedom, and the kind of civic engagement that empowers every student, because every student is who we are all here for. In line with this PDA's theme, let's forge ahead together, creating a path for our students and community to feel safe, heard, welcomed, and celebrated. Thank you, and again, and welcome back to the 25-26 academic school year.
Linda. Ditto. Right? Our classified Senate president has demonstrated that we can truly be partners in the way that we serve students as faculty and staff. Thank you, Linda.
Thank you.
Our Academic Senate is an important way that faculty participate in the participatory governance of this college. There are many new things afoot this semester. We have new Senate chambers in Doyle 145. Yes. Thank you, Senator Johnson, for making that happen. We also have a new website. And on our website, we have all the ways listed that you can engage with us. You can email us, you can call us, you can come to our executive planning meetings. Better yet, you can come to the Senate. You can speak in open forum, right? We are a Brown Act meeting. To engage with us in public, in person, and in our meetings. The other thing I want to talk about is what's ahead this year. And a big project that we're going to be starting is discussions and actions related to adopting an updated standard academic calendar as based on what we've learned thus far from our faculty colleagues at Mira Costa College, who went from an 18-week semester to a 16-week semester that's also inclusive of a final assessments week. I will be coming around this year to every program and every department to meet with you, to gather feedback, to generate ideas, and to engage in a transparent, public, documented process so we can do right by our students and do right by our curriculum. The other thing that I want to mention is that we have our first Senate meeting of the semester next Wednesday. In that meeting, we are going to have a 30-minute information item related to generative artificial intelligence and Canvas. As you might have heard, Canvas and Instructure, without consulting anyone in California, launched 3 new tools. Those tools are for faculty. Those tools are not yet available in Canvas. And in our Senate meeting next week, we are going to see a demonstration of those tools, which I will stress are opt-in and have to be activated on an individual basis by a faculty member if they wish to use them when, and they will eventually be available, but not yet. So just keep that in mind. There's a lot of fear and there's a lot of mischaracterizing going on across the college now, and we really need to practice patience and civility and empathy and what Max Weber calls Verstehen, empathetic understanding. It's time that we start thinking about others and stop thinking about ourselves. It's time that we think about why it's important to think about why people do things, what's motivating them. It might not explain, and I can't explain what's happening on the macro level that's filled with hate and fear and tearing down. But if we seek to understand, if we seek to empathetically understand, we might begin to understand why our students might be scared to come to class this semester. We might also understand why so many of us are feeling overwhelmed and frightened for the very livelihoods of our lives. And so I want to offer you in closing 3 quick themes that I learned and were reminded of this summer. One is that queer joy is resistance. And this was the theme of San Francisco Pride, and this was the culmination of 3 different Pride events I went to this summer, because I'm that gay. And I just can't get enough. And I'm just gonna extend to you, if you're not queer, that's okay, we still love you, right? But joy is resistance, right? And I'm not talking about toxic positivity, I'm talking about embracing joy and embracing community. I also want to offer you something that's been taught to me, and that is that in my public service to you as Academic Senate President, I'm not here to control the narrative, I'm here to contribute. I'm here to be a part of. I invite you to be a part of. Be a part of the solution, be a part of the work that we do together. And lastly, I want to invite you to do something radical this year. I want to invite you to cultivate loving spaces each and every day on this campus, in our workplace, that are based in respect and cooperation. I know we can do this, and I would really love to see us all do this together. That's my invitation to you. So with that, I'm going to pass the baton over to my friend, Daniela Kingwell, who is a faculty member in English for multilingual language students, and she's here to introduce the Multicultural Educator of the Year Award recipient. Have a great day, everybody.
Good morning. And in the language of my mother, Guten Morgen. So as John mentioned, I'm Daniela Kingwell. I'm a faculty member in the English for Multilingual Students department. And it's my honor and privilege to present this Multicultural Educator Award to Rafael Vasquez Guzman. A funny thing is that since Rafael doesn't do things for recognition, I wasn't sure if he would accept this award. When I think about the words multicultural and educator, I think about how Rafael really is an educator for the whole community. And that is why I nominated him. And today I'd like to give you just a few examples of that. I also urge you to read more about Rafael on this webpage. I think that when you go to this webpage, there's actually a full paragraph, but you can read more about him there. As well as on his Líderes del Futuro, or Leaders of the Future website, which, is right there. Great. I have known Rafael since around 2007, when I was an associate faculty member in the then known as ESL department. And one of my colleagues, Ellen Lick, let me know that if students had questions about certain details that I didn't know how to answer, they could go talk to him in the EOPS department, where he was an outreach coordinator at that time. And as the years went by, I have learned so much from him. Rafael has been the mentor for the MECHA organization of SRJC since 2004. He has put on about 20 conferences for high school MECHA students, many of whom then have become students here at SRJC. He also started conferences for undocumented students starting in about 2017. In addition, Rafael pushed to get the Undocu Dream Center opened here and supervised it in the beginning. There's a lot I can say about Rafael. He was also invited by Dr. Maria Hess to serve on the board of Humanidad Therapy Services and currently serves as their board president. 3 years ago, maybe some of you know this, Rafael became a full-time faculty member here in the Humanities and Religious Studies department. He teaches cultures of the United States, including classes on gangs. He also teaches classes on Latin America and the Caribbean, and popular cultures in the United States. Some qualities about Rafael that I admire are that he stands in his truth. He puts other people first. He is always there for the community. He has taken over 150 students on advanced parole to Mexico. Sanación y Cultura is the title of the advanced parole program for DACA recipients to connect or reconnect with their ancestral culture. Rafael inspired students to write a book about their experience as DACA recipients. And he has also helped gather funds for students to receive scholarships. And in fact, you can donate to scholarships on the Líderes del Futuro website, which was up earlier. So the number of student lives that Rafael has affected is immeasurable. Rafael has consistently put on trainings for people who may be undocumented in this country so that they know their rights, both during the first Trump administration and during this administration. In fact, when the election results were decided in November of last year, one of the first people that I thought of was Rafael. Immediately, I thought of our undocumented students and community, and I thought that Rafael would be an important person to talk to for resources and information. So over the last 8 months, I have turned to him several times to ask for more information. I follow him on all social media, including YouTube, Facebook, and Instagram. And whenever I can, I listen to his KBBF radio shows, Líderes del Futuro, on Thursday evenings. Rafael is a person who fights for the rights of others. He's the kind of person who I strive to be. He has given so many resources and so much of his personal time to our greater community, including all of the students here at SRJC. And whether or not you have been personally affected by Rafael's resources and information, he has caused a ripple effect in the greater community. The knowledge that Rafael brings affects the students that he is directly in contact with, but also the students who are affected by the knowledge that he gives to instructors and staff and other students who then pass it on to other students and the community at large. And so, keeping one member of our community safe and informed keeps the whole community better informed and safer. And for that, I thank you, Rafael. And finally, I asked some of Rafael's Mecha students to talk about Rafael, and they said, quote, "Rafa is a true ally to his community. He doesn't shy away from challenging authority, and he's inspired us to question it too. He sees each of us for who we are and shows up with unwavering support. You might think you know what Rafa is like, but beneath that tough exterior is someone with a huge heart. He deeply cares about his community and consistently puts in the work to uplift others." And I wanted to acknowledge Brian, who's here with us today, and Erandi, and other Mechistas who are here, and they are transferring to universities right now, this semester. In addition, here today we have Bernice Espinosa, who is a local immigration attorney who works closely with Rafael. And I'm not sure if she's here today, but I also wanted to thank Malena and other members of the Multicultural Educator Award Committee for giving us this opportunity to recognize Rafael. So, para mí es un honor presentarles a Rafael Vázquez Guzmán.
Thank you. Good morning, everybody. Again, my name is Rafael Vázquez Guzmán. For 17 years and multiple lawyers later, it took a long time because when I migrated to this country, the first thing they took was my last name, right, at Santa Rosa High School. I could speak about all of the traumas I've experienced in this country, but I'll just read a statement that I prepared. I asked a colleague what I should say today, and they told me, "Those that know you will expect you to tell the truth." I titled this, "Justice Over Comfort, My 21-Year Journey at Santa Rosa Junior College." At Santa Rosa Junior College, I have found a great deal of support. I have found colleagues who deeply care for and love their students, who are courageous and who help ground me in my own values. Because of them, I have been able to do the work of assisting thousands of students to get started at SRJC. Because of them, and because of those students, I have been here for 21 years. Yet, sadly, at Santa Rosa Junior College, I have also encountered countless barriers and challenges, countless colleagues who prefer to maintain the status quo, who hide behind policy when it is convenient, and who prefer comfort over justice. I have even been told by a colleague to go back to my country. There are those who publicly speak of justice as if it were a trendy set of words, but when it comes time to act, they hide behind policy, behind contracts, behind processes. It is this weaponizing of bureaucracy that makes this journey a lonely one, an isolated one for those of us who center injustice over complacency. Because of this culture, it took 11 years and countless student protests to establish the Dream Center in 2015. Once a year, those of us honored with this award are celebrated, but I know for a fact that if you ask past recipients, they too will tell you doing equity and justice work has been the hardest, most challenging part of their jobs because of the culture of SRJC. While we're being honored here, we're simultaneously facing countless challenges and countless roadblocks, not from an abstract, racist, patriarchal, homophobic institution, but from actual people who claim to be none of those things. From people who claim anti-racism while questioning the establishment of the Sabona Center. From people who claim to be unapologetically proud of who they are, yet do not engage with students or events that center those very identities. From people who claim to be student-centered, yet fail to include student voices and experiences in any decision-making. From people who use Mecha de SRJC and their work as PR stunts, but provide no real support otherwise. From people who reach out to say, let me know how I can help, but are unwilling to make changes to their class modality to keep undocumented students safe. From people who call themselves champions of the new Latinx Student Center, but stood silent when Mi Casa was defunded. From people who failed to support Latinx student clubs, even though those students are doing the institution's work for them. From people who act shocked at the high turnover of queer colleagues and colleagues of color, yet whose own direct actions intentionally created toxic environments that push them out. This is the reality we live in and work in. And it is why even on mornings like this, when we are honored, we cannot forget that we fight for justice here, that our fight for justice here is far from over. I will close with this, and will leave you with this question. When in the history of atrocities has the silence of allies protected our people? Thank you for your time. Thank you. And now I would like to introduce to you the President and Superintendent of Santa Rosa Junior College, Dr. Angelica Garcia.
Can we give our colega Rafael a round of applause? Buenos dias, welcome. It's really good to be back. It has been an interesting past 4 weeks, trying to recover from my second knee replacement surgery, and so I'm so grateful to be back here with you all to kick off this semester and the academic year. You know, it's hard to follow an act when you have a colleague who just lays it all out there, right? And certainly has given, I think, not only me, but probably each and every one of us a lot to think about. So I'm sitting with that a little bit and look forward to including that in some of my remarks. A lot of thank yous have already been given today, but I do want to begin with a few. First, I'd like to acknowledge and thank Kate Jolly for serving as acting president for a second time while I was away. Her leadership and the leadership of the president's cabinet really kept things going so that I could take the time that I needed to get healthy, but make sure that the academic year was ready to go. So thank you all so much. To my colleagues, John and Linda, amazing opening. Again, I don't know where they are in the midst of this room. Oh, right there. Okay, thank you. Really appreciate the way that you grounded and opened us up with this morning. So thank you very much. Over the past year and a half, I've really grown to care deeply for the following group, which is our ASL interpreters. I'm so grateful for them and the work that they provide to ensure equitable access to information. Of course, our media services team, custodial, but to our human resources department and the professional development committee. Thank you so much for putting the work on so that we could show up today for learning. So for the PD committee. I do want to recognize two trustees that are in attendance and thank them for joining us. We have Trustee Dorothy Battenfeld and Trustee Maggie Fishman. Thank you so much for joining us today. Before I move on, I was thinking, as Rafael was speaking and as we were hearing about his impact in the community. Just yesterday evening, I was with my 10-year-old daughter at her soccer practice. And so sitting, in the sideline with other parents, and there was a parent next to me who said, "Is Rafael still at SRJC?" And I said, "Yes, he is." And she said, "Oh, he was a consejero or outreach when I started taking classes back in 2006, 2007. And she proceeded to share an entire conversation about what it meant to have someone that could speak her language, that could understand the experience of being a recent immigrant, and who encouraged her to continue studies. She now has a niece and a cousin that are currently taking classes. And again, a reminder that the opportunity for impact that we have is great. It is far and wide and large. So I'm just so proud of that. Much of what we have going on right now is I want to share the agenda, a little bit about what to expect in this session. We're going to take a look at where we are, the progress that we've made, and the challenges that we've experienced. As an institution of public higher education, our mission is student-centered. We are about students. And as we look ahead, we need to really think about that if we're about students, how are we ready for students, for the students that are coming to us today? Their diversity, their goals, everything, and remind them that everyone belongs here. And so as we look ahead, we build upon the foundation that SRJC has had over the decades, and really think about what it means to live our mission, stand in our values, and meet the needs of students in our region. A little bit later in this, I'm going to invite the vice presidents to join me for a roundtable discussion without the table, and Sarah Pugh is going to monitor, our Senior Director of Marketing, Communications, and Public Affairs. And it's going to be a discussion about how their areas are advancing our strategic initiatives and the goals ahead. The PDA committee worked diligently to organize our learning. As an educator, I love when there's a clear focus, when you have a theme, when you're trying to figure out what is it that we're trying to hang on to. And so the theme is forging our future, defining our legacy. And it's really a call to consider the role each of us plays in shaping what SRJC stands for. Not just during these times, but in the years ahead. Because every day the work that we do makes a difference. It shapes students' experiences, it strengthens our programs, and helps create the kind of community where everyone can belong and thrive. But to forge ahead, we do need to be... Someone's advancing the slides for me, thank you. I forgot I was supposed to be doing that, but thank you. But to do that, we have to stay focused. And so you heard Linda and John start with really grounding in our mission and our values. And these aren't just words on paper, at least they're not supposed to be, right? They're supposed to be things that we anchor the work that we do and how we show up each day. And so with that, they're the foundation of the choices that we make. For the years that are coming up, the priorities that we set, and the way in which we're going to have to make some really tough decisions. I don't want to sugarcoat anything. We're going to have to make some tough decisions. Our fiscal reality is going to call us to do so. The needs of our students is going to call us to do so. And we have to remember that students, they are our why. The mission, vision, and values, that's like our North Star. It's supposed to keep us going forward in a direction that's in service of the community. But before we talk about priorities and plans, I want to take a moment to recognize and give space for the socio-political climate that we're in. You've already heard some remarks. The events and conversations happening across the country really are shaping the mindset that we bring to campus, whether we're aware of it or not. For the past 7 months, our country has experienced some great harm and turbulence. And regardless of your political or one's political affiliation, each and every one of us is impacted by the attacks on the undocumented community, poor and low-income families, the LGBTQIA+ community, and the explicit dismantling or attempt to dismantle the U.S. Department of Education. These new realities influence, again, whether we want them to or not, they're going to influence how we think, how we interact, and how we respond to challenges. And while we may not always see it on the surface, it's there. It is going to be affecting students when you interact with them, if not already. It's going to affect our own colleagues. And it's going to affect each and every one of us individually. So whether it is something that's personally connected to you right now, that actually doesn't matter because it's impacting students. And if it's impacting students, that means that we need to give a damn about it. We need to care about it. That environment is the backdrop. Here you have, this is the smattering. This is what we are either waking up to or going to bed to. We're getting headlines, we're getting stories. This is where one is just this constant disruption. This is where the work of a college community truly happens. The headlines of yesterday and of today can impact how we build for tomorrow. The constant hits, and I'm not a health science expert, so my colleagues will have to forgive me on this, but the constant hits to our cortisol levels, right, as we respond in this fight or flight, it is not healthy. It is not healthy for our bodies, it is not healthy for our mental health, and it's gonna continue to impact how we act. And so again, whether you pay attention to the headlines or not, this is what's impacting students. And so we don't know the headlines of tomorrow, but gosh, I really want to change it. I really want our students to experience a different set. So this current sociopolitical climate requires us to stay ready, to pay attention to each other, to what people might be carrying, and how we can create the space for them to engage, learn, and do their best work. This is our shared environment. We cannot necessarily control what is outside of our campus community, and honestly, we cannot control what's within it, but we can contribute to how we want it to be. And so with that, we have the opportunity to provide stability, calm, and connection during a time when students in our communities need it most. So I hope that we don't have too many more days of this, but reality says don't be naive, Angelica. So with that, in 24-25, we focused our work on institutional priorities, and these were the four that we were talking about at the time. It was about student success and enrollment, recovery, fiscal sustainability, institutional effectiveness, and our equity work. These priorities kept us focused and aligned moving forward as we navigated what was coming a year ago. Our fiscal reality rests on a simple truth. When students succeed, we succeed. It is really that simple. When students succeed, we succeed. From enrolling students to helping them stay on their path and supporting them through completion, our commitment to students calls us to be iteratively, to constantly reflect on our processes and procedures, to be student ready. Our strategic enrollment management plan laid out the path to 17,500 full-time equivalent students. We call that FTES, by 27-28. So that means we have 2 academic years to hopefully accomplish that goal. And this year, we reached the halfway mark toward the goal. And while we came just short of our enrollment target, we did expand programs. We enhanced student services and strengthened the connections that make a difference, from counseling, academic support, to outreach and career development. I love that my colleague reminded me, don't forget that we're gonna get those new hydraulic lifts in Lunabis, right? Because we're making sure that students are prepared to serve the car industry of today. And so with this, when we talk about enrollment, it's not just about achieving a number, it's about the kind of college we are for students who choose us. Because the fact of the matter is we get to be here today and we get to teach and we get to run programs because students value higher education. They value public higher education. And so institutional effectiveness keeps us focused on the work that matters most while making sure that we're serving students. It also means creating a place where employees can do their best work. This past year, we strengthened our HR structure. We launched a new participatory governance model, as you have heard so much about already. We've expanded leadership development, and we have updated processes to be more effective and efficient. And I get it. No one loves to have to look at board policy and administrative procedure. To my trustees, I know that we think that everything rises and falls with that. I know that we don't like it, but what it does is it provides us with the information on what we do when. It provides us with the information to hold me, to hold the leadership team and our trustees accountable to do what we say what we're gonna do. So as much as they're bureaucratic and a pain in the you-know-what, they are the ways in which students and the community hold us accountable. Thank you. Thank you. Equity is not a separate priority. I want to just be very clear about that. Equity is not a separate priority. It's central to what we do because what impacts students should matter to us. And so with that, we should be proud of what we've accomplished. It's taken a lot of hard work and collaboration, and it's left us with a good foundation, but students still need a little bit more. And so all of that, all the work that we've done, again, it always comes back to them. SRJC is home to a vibrant mix of students across credit, non-credit, part-time, full-time, each bringing unique goals and experiences. And you know that every time I get an opportunity to be with you all, I like to share data because I think it's important. So as we look at spring 2025, our unduplicated head count was up 3.7% over last spring. That is a good thing. That means that students are seeing the value of coming to SRJC. Our total enrollments are also up about 2.4% year over year. And as a reminder, enrollment means the total number of class registrations. So as an example, if one student takes 3 classes, that counts as 3 enrollments. It reflects how many individual course seats are filled across SRJC. It gives us a sense of the total instructional activity taking place in the classroom. And while some might only see a number, I see opportunities for learning, for engagement, and for meaningful connections. When we look at our full-time, when we look closely at FTES, we do so because it is the benchmark for setting our goals and measuring progress. And it is important in achieving our fiscal sustainability. And so as I mentioned earlier, and you'll see in our district strategic plan, the Strategic Enrollment Management Plan charts that we will achieve 17,500 FTES by the academic year 27-28. And for our new colleagues who are joining us, that means that we will have the FTES for which we are currently funded. Okay, so that's what we're growing towards. And so this spring, our FTES grew just over 4.2% compared to spring 2024. Again, significant progress, but it also means we still need to close a gap of more than 2,600 FTES to reach our goal. Now, I want to be clear, that's not 2,600 students, it's 2,600 FTES. Because the data tell us more about who SRJC students are. This past spring, about 44% of students were first generation, first in their family to attend college. That is remarkable for our community. One of my greatest moments during commencement is when I get to shake students' hands and they're proudly displaying all their stoles. And for the ones that display first generation, I take that opportunity to whisper to them, you may be the first, but be sure that you're not the last. They are forging a pathway for their families and their community. About 80% of our students were enrolled part-time. That's not new to you all. You know that, we know this. They're balancing school with work, family, and other priorities. And so it's critical to our understanding of students' realities. They live full lives. And therefore, that calls upon us to rethink how we engage inside and outside of the classroom with academic integrity and with grace. As we look at race and ethnicity, 2 groups continue to be the majority of our student population. The number of white students increased 3.7% from last year to just over 9,400 students. Hispanic Latinx students increased 2.6% to 9,433. Of those 9,433, 65% of them are first-generation college students. That is a critical number, right? Because I said that 44% of the overall was first gen. It's 65% of our Latinx students are first gen. An incredible metric, again, creating opportunities not just for their families, but for the communities to come. And while these 2 groups are leading demographic groups, that does not mean that SRJC is just a white or a brown college. And I need us to be really clear about that. We serve every student that comes, whether they are focused on credit, lifelong learning, non-credit. Our focus needs to be also just beyond our credit program. And so we do see that. Our programs are still in recovery mode, but we're showing some real momentum, especially in adult education. Enrollment growth in this area shows the demand for educational opportunities that meet students where they are and prepare them for the goals they want to achieve. I'd love to give you an example. Programs like HEP, the High School Equivalency Program, helps migrant and seasonal farm workers and their families earn a high school diploma or equivalent, opening doors to higher education and better jobs. Just 2 days ago, SRJC graduated the largest HEP class ever, with 51 graduates celebrating this achievement. That is an achievement that's going to be felt deep, long, and wide. So for my colleagues, for the work that you do during the summer months when some of us are away, thank you. I appreciate you. We're also making important progress through the California Adult Education Program, partnering with K-12 districts, community organizations, and workforce agencies to expand access and career training across Sonoma County. We're clear, a community college education addresses that education is not a one-size-fits-all. And what I love about that is that from a teaching perspective, from one class to the next, it's not a one-size-fits-all. And so whether a student is starting a degree, learning a new skill, changing careers, or pursuing personal growth, we're here to make those pathways accessible and designed for success. Because again, we are this community's access to that. We are this community's college. And while we have our SSU partners and love that they're getting some support so we can continue this streamline, we continue to be the steadfast beacon of hope to access for higher education and career preparation, and that's because of all of you. Whatever brings a student here, we have a responsibility to make sure that the classes and programs they need are there to support both their academic and personal goals. So that means paying close attention to where the demand is, how well we're meeting it, and reviewing regularly to ensure that we stay responsive to student and workforce and industry needs. Right now, the course success rates have held strong, ending the spring slightly above the ACC-JC set standard of 75%. I will say I have worked in other districts where the metric would have been at a 70%, but the district was hovering more at like a 50%. So I do want you to hear that this is a remarkable achievement for our students in our college. And successful course completion is an aspect of our institutional effectiveness related to accreditation. So meeting that standard is critical. And we're going to be sharing and talking about that as we do our midterm report, which is coming next spring. However, when we look at overall course completion rates, the story is strong, but this view tells us a little bit more. Disaggregating the data shows us that success is not evenly experienced. Some student groups are completing courses at higher rates, while others are facing barriers that affect their ability to finish and pass. Specifically, we have 4 groups below the set standard: Pacific Islander, Native American, Hispanic Latino, and Black African American. As educators, as program coordinators, as directors, as administrators, we take in data from many sources to help inform how we engage in our craft, in our disciplines, in the work that we do. So I just urge you to consider how these data might inform your perspective in the new academic year. Because this is where our work continues. Closing these gaps is central to our strategic plan. It's why the academic quality and campus climate and culture priorities include specific actions aimed at eliminating those equity gaps in student persistence and completion. Again, because success must be possible for every student, in every program, in every classroom, in every interaction. And so I ask, what do we need to do to change this reality? Another data metric is looking at persistence. Continuing from one term to the next, it's a key indicator of whether students are staying engaged, making progress, and seeing the path to their goals. Those that study student development theory or student retention theory often look at, in that first year, what they call the first semester, that fall to spring. That is one of the biggest data metrics that shows whether or not a student will persist and eventually complete their program and degree. So again, our overall rates have held steady year over year, and in today's climate, stability matters. It means that students are choosing to stay with us despite the outside pressures. But holding steady also means that we have more work to do to see meaningful gains, because when you look closer, some groups, I think this is the next slide, some groups persist at higher rates. These gaps represent real students Students who started with us but did not return. The light blue bar represents the 22-23 academic year, and the dark blue bar represents the 23-24. So again, while we have seen growth in persistence for multiple groups, with an acknowledgement highlighting that Native American students, and certainly want to highlight the work of the Native American Resource Center, so we have seen a growth in persistence there, we do still have a few student groups experiencing a slight decline. And here's where I want to highlight that our Black and African American students are a population and a community that every single one of us needs to be thinking about. What is it that we might do differently to support their persistence? And again, our district strategic plan outlines specific success metrics for persistence to address these gaps. However, improving persistence isn't just about meeting a data benchmark. It really is about ensuring students have connections, resources, and momentum to keep moving forward. And when we strengthen persistence, we strengthen completion, career and transfer success, and our long-term institutional health. So again, leaving you with the question, how might I engage students differently knowing that these gaps exist? Colleagues from throughout the college, and I'm thinking yesterday we had the big welcome day, such amazing energy. We had, some of you were holding booths, informing students of your academic programs. We had outreach, student services, counseling, so much going on. We had colleagues that worked really hard to get students here. So I'm asking of myself and the rest of us, what am I gonna do to make sure that they stay here? Because that was a lot of work for them. So thank you so much to all the colleagues who supported students through that process. We've built a strong foundation and one that positions us to shape our future. So now, briefly, I want to put, because we spent a lot of time last year, but want to look at our strategic plan, because over the past year, the community's work it has set the stage. So you'll notice on the slide on the left was the previous institutional priorities. That was just helping guide the work. Now it's very clear. You're going to hear a lot of and see a lot of integration and call for academic quality, student success and support, responsiveness to our community, and campus climate and culture. These are not buzzwords. These are not things for you to just throw in your annual plan and PRPP for fun. Don't just throw it on your agenda to say that you talked about it. These really are going to be the 4 priorities that we will be setting a framework for the next 5 years. Each has clear goals and action steps that guide our focus, measure our progress, and keep us aligned with what matters most. I'm grateful to the leadership, the co-leadership of John Stover and Jeremy Smotherman, who spent a lot of time with the broader community to make sure that this was an informed plan. They're going to anchor the decisions that we make. I said earlier, we're going to have some tough decisions ahead. We are. This is going to anchor how we prioritize and how we see those decisions being made. So as you will hear from the panel in a bit here, is that our work is prioritized along these initiatives. They're how we're going to be moving forward so that we can commit and accomplish what we said we were going to do. It's how the college community and our students can ensure that we're holding ourselves accountable. And so, again, in these next quick slides, I just want to go through. So academic quality, ensuring excellent teaching and learning in every class, across every discipline and modality. Student success and support, providing the services, programs, and resources students need to belong, stay on track, and reach their goals. Responsiveness to our community, offering programs and opportunities that meet the diverse educational, social, and economic needs of Sonoma County. Campus climate and culture, creating an environment where students, employees, and community members feel included, respected, and able to thrive. So this year, it really becomes about how do we put that into motion and what is the response? And so here you're going to see that the 4 priorities will funnel, and the team, our colleagues last year really identified the student success metrics and operational metrics. And ultimately, things will get into motion going through the participatory governance, so that's going to matter. College administration or cabinet administrators, especially if they're operational, and eventually recommendations will find themselves to me and the Board of Trustees. This is the way in which we are going to make sure that there is community-wide involvement, and again, that we are making informed decisions, because participatory governance is where this work happens. And again, if it's operational, it will be in guidance of the cabinet administrator. So what I want to ask you all is to get involved and help inform how recommendations are made to me and eventually the Board of Trustees. Our participatory governance is where transparent discussions take place. We don't always agree in those spaces, but that is where informed, respectful discourse happens so that recommendations are coming forward with input. And so what I want to say is this is not asking folks to come and just go along with, oh, I'm just going to nod my head. No, I'm inviting you to bring your perspective. We need all perspectives to make sure that what we are bringing forth to the trustees is an informed decision recommendation. These discussions don't happen in a vacuum. We're going to be taking up some big issues, if you've heard, and it's going to require informed, thoughtful, mission-aligned. We've heard already about generative AI. The district is launching a call for a task force that was recommended by the Academic Senate, so you're going to be hearing that. There's been a lot of conversation around that already. Fiscal sustainability, that is definitely going to be something that we are talking a lot about this academic year and informing how we allocate resources moving forward. And we have our accreditation midterm report. So we have our accrediting body coming and asking us to share, hey, how are we doing midway through our process? And all of that is going to require that you get involved, that you provide perspective. So here's where we are. We're going to move on the slide set here. We have an incredible opportunity in front of us. We do have a strong foundation to build upon, and our strategic plan offers us a clear guide. As I shared, the only thing that's really left is we need you. We're not just planning for the future, we're creating a place where every student who walks through our proverbial doors knows that they belong and they can succeed. No matter their path, their background, or their goals, SRJC was built for them. The founding mothers of this institution built this college for this community, and it still stands true 107 years later. With that, I'd like to welcome the panel to come up on the stage as we further our conversation. But first, let's take a moment to honor this commitment, seen every day in the voices and experiences of our own community.
I am a first-generation student, and I am welcome here.
I am formerly incarcerated, and I am welcome here.
I am a Polynesian student athlete, and I am welcome here.
I am gay, I am Latino, I am black, and I am welcome here.
I am low income, and I am welcome here.
I'm an international student, and I'm welcome here.
Hi, I'm autistic, and I'm welcome here.
I am Kishaya Pomo, and I am welcome here.
Todos los estudiantes indocumentados son bienvenidos aquí.
I'm Lebanese, and I'm welcome here.
I'm a woman in STEM, and I'm welcome here.
I'm transgender, and I'm welcome here.
Soy primera generación estudiante y soy bienvenido aquí.
I'm still trying to figure it out, but I am welcome here.
I am a woman, Latina, queer, a mom, the first female president, and I am welcome here.
We are SRJC.
We are SRJC.
We are all SRJC.
We are SRJC, and we're all welcome here.
Oh, I get goosies watching that every single time. It's one of my favorites. I'm so proud of the work that went into that, and thanks to everyone who participated. So, good morning, SRJC community. My name is Sarah Pugh. I am the Senior Director of Marketing, Communications, and Public Affairs. I'm so honored to be here today and moderating this exemplary panel with my colleagues. So we just heard from Dr. Garcia about the opportunities and the realities that we face as we enter into this new academic year. And now we really want to bring those into a much sharper focus. And we want to hear directly from our fearless vice presidents who are helping to guide this college forward. So please join me in welcoming our newest vice president, Aaliyah Dunphy, Vice President of Human Resources, Dr. Robert Holcomb, Vice President of Academic Affairs, Kate Jolly, Vice President of Finance and Administrative Services, and Dr. Molly Senecal, Vice President of Student Services. Thank you all for being here and for being so willing to share your perspectives with us today. So we designed this session as an opportunity to give more clarity and better visibility into the people behind the titles, to take all of those strategies and priorities and make meaning behind them. How do we move from strategy to implementation? So you're going to hear a little bit about the human side of leadership, each one of these individuals behind their titles. So we received close to 40 questions from across the district, which really helped shape the structure of this panel. The questions that you submitted were around some core themes: strategic planning, fiscal health, innovation, interdepartmental collaboration, and culture. All right, so let's get into it, now that we've got that set stage. Okay, so the first section that I really want to start with is getting to know our leadership a little bit better. And I want to start with a thoughtful question that was submitted by our community. What does a day, a week, or a month in your role actually look like? So the submitter shared that understanding the day-to-day might help clear up some misconceptions and show just how much work it takes to keep this college moving forward. So I want to start with two areas: academic affairs and student services. Robert, let's start with you. What does it look like on an average day for you?
All right, thank you very much, Sarah. Good morning, everyone. Great to see everyone. So a typical day, not surprisingly, there will be a lot of meetings. You know, some of them are here on campus or one of our other district sites. Other times they might be out in the community somewhere. A lot of emails coming in. Some of them are just for my general awareness. Other times that requires my immediate attention or my eventual follow-up. I work with a tremendous team of deans and directors, and we're responsible for all instructional programming, learning support areas, and educational initiatives. And so I'm meeting on a daily basis with either a subset of the group or sometimes the entire unit together. But the focus of our work really puts us in constant partnership with the Academic Senate, with department chairs, with our classified colleagues. In fact, there's something we do on a monthly basis. It's called a frontline forum. At the frontline forums, we get together and we analyze our operational processes and see if there are ways that we can streamline and improve them. I also spend a lot of time as a member of President's Cabinet with Dr. Garcia at the helm. Sometimes the vice presidents just meet separately on an issue or two, but that's where we do a lot of brainstorming, envisioning, and the good work of the college. But I will say that the best days are really the days when I get to see our students in action, right? And I love when I can have the opportunity to catch a forensics tournament or an athletic event or a theatrical production, musical concert, because that brings us back to what this work's all about, is serving students. And so I hope we have a lot of days like that in the academic year ahead, and I love being here today. Thank you.
Thanks, Robert. I'm going to go and turn over to you, Molly.
Absolutely. So first, good morning, everyone. It is so good to see all of you here. And so that's a really great question. I really appreciate that. And similar to what Vice President Holcomb shared, my day is filled with a lot of meetings, one-on-ones, committees, and other opportunities to connect, collaborate, and engage. But what I love the most about my role as the Vice President of Student Services is the opportunity that I get to engage with students in different capacities almost on a daily basis. So I love that. So this might look like walking across campus, and so just like popping into the Intercultural Center or stopping by the Welcome Center, chatting with people in financial aid. And yesterday, as Dr. Garcia mentioned, we had a Welcome Day. And it was, by all accounts, one of our most well-attended. We had more folks show up than I think we ever did So a major kudos to everyone. So thank you so much for everyone who helped and showed up and volunteered. I appreciate that. I have designated days where I am at Petaluma and Roseland. I work closely with the folks at Shane Farm and Public Safety Training Center. So these are important to me to stay connected with the teams and with the students so that I know what students need and how we can better support them. Another big part of my role is helping students who need help. So I have folks who reach out directly to me asking for help with financial aid, how do they register, how do I get connected with a counselor? And now more than ever, we have more students coming forward with concerns about basic needs, mental health access, and safety. And so this is the reality, as we have seen, what we have heard today, everything that we have seen that is coming forward, we know that our students and our communities need that support. We're struggling, there's fear, there's concern, and so we're acknowledging that. And this is something that we're continuing to work on to be able to support and provide that. And I want to connect this with the strategic plan because one of the goals is to ensure equitable access to basic needs across all of our sites. And this is something that our team is working really, really hard on. It's not something we can do in isolation either. So I'm super grateful to have incredibly dedicated, passionate folks who are working in student services. And we work very closely with our academic affairs partners, partners in IT and so forth to do this work. So when we do this work together, we create more than just opportunities. You know, we are coming together and we're opening doors for opportunity and success. And as a person who is deaf, I know what it feels like to go into places and encounter systems that say, no, you don't belong here. No, we can't accommodate you. This is not going to be accessible for you. I also know what it feels like when you have even just one person who says, absolutely yes, I'm so happy you're here. You are welcome here. And that's what we do. That's what we do every day. So we're able to open doors and, hey, sometimes we can take the door off. Because I truly do believe that education belongs to everyone, and everyone is welcome here. So thank you for that question.
Thank you both. I love the common themes that we're hearing a lot about connection and collaboration and engagement. So we're going to come back to this a little bit later on the panel. So Aaliyah and Kate, you're off the hook for now. But and the marketing team's really thinking about how we can provide additional visibility and transparency as to what it takes to run this college. And so we'll look forward to bringing some of that work throughout the rest of the year. So I want to shift into strategic vision and priorities. Robert, I'm going to come back to you on this one. So as we really start the year and you think about all the years ahead of you and all the things that we want to focus on, what are those couple of things that rise right to the top of mind for you for priorities for this year?
Absolutely. Yes, we have some tremendous opportunities in the year ahead. One of them has to do with artificial intelligence, AI. You know, it's very timely, important that we be responsive to it. And so we have the opportunity to develop an administrative procedure in partnership with the Academic Senate on the use of AI in the classroom. I think that will provide really critical guardrails and structure for instructors who wish to use AI in the classroom, and it will allow students to have correct expectations about what to expect to support their learning. Another area is around HSIs. You know, we are a proud Hispanic serving institution. We have an opportunity this year to continue to build our organizational capacity as an HSI. This is a time in which there is national rhetoric and kind of attacks on certain communities, including our undocumented community. And so we can reaffirm our commitment to serving all student populations at Santa Rosa Junior College. And I know you're all with me on that. So that's another area of focus. Another priority will be continuing the work around guided pathways, which is being rephrased and reframed as SRJC Forward. And what I love about SRJC Forward is that I see it as something that really brings the academic disciplines to the forefront of the student experience, so that students can learn about the different fields of study earlier in their college career, so they can make informed and timely decisions about choosing a major, right? So, and one area where we'll be making progress is around program mapping, where we can give recommended course sequences for all of our degrees and certificates, so students know which courses to take in which order, and they have a clearer sense of those pathways. Other areas include kind of building off yesterday's DDAD SLO day to continue to have departments get together and look at disaggregated SLO data, so that they're looking at how students are faring in student learning outcomes. And that's part of developing a stronger culture of evidence-based inquiry, right? More data-driven to support learning. Two last areas. One is strategic enrollment management. Dr. Garcia laid out some of the important figures. One thing we're going to do this year that's going to be helpful in that work is we're rolling out a productivity-based FTF allocation model, and that will allow us to really shift the resources around scheduling to really align where we're seeing the enrollment demand. So that will be helpful in that work, help us continue to make progress toward 17,500 FTES. And the last area in academic affairs for the year is around budgetary alignment. And so in the fall of 2022, we started the year with a budgetary reduction of $1.4 million. And over the last few years, we've been making adjustments and prioritizing and really addressing that. And so going into this year, we're under $200,000 left. And so the goal for this year will be to fully resolve that and then move on from there. So we have incredible opportunities in the year ahead, a lot of hard work and a lot of heavy lifts, but if we stay united and stay together, we can meet all these challenges and meet all our goals. Thank you.
Yeah. Thanks, Robert. I think, it's interesting. So Dr. Garcia, I'm going to come to you on this. So, we just heard Robert talk about a very thoughtful and ambitious roadmap for the year ahead. And in some of that, while it may be some of the underlying, there's a lot of innovation happening in some of that work, even on the process work. And so when you think about that, and this was actually one of the areas from the community, this desire to innovate while also planning responsibly, right? And so how do you think about creating that balance, about innovating for the future, but also being fiscally responsible in that area? Are there specifics around how the district is approaching that balance?
No, not at all. No, just kidding. Well, so I think where I want to start with that is that innovation doesn't necessarily mean that it has to be completely external or completely new. Right? When you're revising a lesson plan and you're teaching, you are addressing, you're innovating, you're changing, and that doesn't necessarily mean that there's something new or additional coming in, and I mean that in terms of a resource. So for me, I think of innovation as a true examination of how is the thing that I am doing serving the students that are here in preparing them for what their future goal is. And innovation happens with collaboration and figuring out where there's partnerships and alignment. I think the more important piece is the second part of that question, which is how do you do that fiscally responsibly? And that is by acknowledging that there are no new dollars coming in. So I just want to be very clear about that. There are no magical new dollars that are going to come in from the external. So that means any of the shifts and the reallocation that we are going to do is going to happen from within what we have. And that is a hard process because having been someone who was responsible for a little budget and then a slightly bigger budget and now a whole district budget, it's hard to imagine doing what you're currently doing with less. And so I want to acknowledge that. But I think the conversations that we're really going to have to engage in and that I'm hoping will take place in participatory governance is a recognition that, that when we are saying that we're going to prioritize or allocate resources differently, we're doing so openly. Nothing's happening in a hidden door, so that's one. And two, it's happening with data and with information. And so, and three, that it's a recognition that it's going to be uncomfortable. It is going to be uncomfortable. And so I think that's going to be the work coming ahead. But I certainly have a lot of faith and confidence. I know Kate's going to talk maybe a little bit more on this panel, but certainly throughout this year, providing the leadership and the conditions for us to have those kinds of conversations.
Yeah, and I think there's part of that too is, again, it always comes back down to how are we innovating around supporting students, right? How all of our goals are always going to come back to that. And so it actually brings me into the next topic, which was one of the biggest areas in terms of a lot of the questions that we had coming in from the community, which was around this sense of belonging. So how are we innovating? How are we creating that space for students to really be successful? So Molly, I want to start with you. When you think about helping students be successful, yes, that's your job, but it's all of our job, right? How are you thinking about it, though, from the perspective of belonging and getting students more oriented and maybe quicker, sooner in the process, when you think about everything from outreach to enrollment to class availability to support them? How do you think about that in the sense of belonging?
All right, I love this question, so thank you so much for asking this. And I would say that we talk about belonging often in student services. And I want to go back to the conversations and the interactions I have with students, because that is where it starts, where we talk with a student and say, what made you decide to come here to Santa Rosa Junior College? And how did you decide to stay? Like, how did you figure out what to do and get connected? So over the summer, I had a chance to talk with one of our incoming student leaders, Diego Lopez-Ferrier, who is the student vice president of marketing for Petaluma. And we were just talking, and he was showing that, I always knew I was going to come to the JC because, similar to what Dr. Garcia said, we are the destination higher education place in Sonoma County. But at first, he didn't know what he wanted to do. And so I just enrolled in some classes. And it wasn't until there was a chance encounter with another student at Club Day. So we had on the quad tables, all the different clubs were out there, and he was walking through and ran into Ruben Garcia, who is our past SGA president. And they connected, and they had shared experiences, and Ruben was able to share, here's how I got connected, here's how you see a counselor, the importance of an ed plan, all those different places. And so then Diego was able to see himself here and, had an ed plan and a set up for success and is paying it forward in this role as a student leader. So we know that works. We know that peer-to-peer connection, creating these spaces of belonging that affirm a student's identity and who they are, that's critical. We need that. So that is why Student Services is prioritizing the development of a student community orientation for this coming year. This is one of the strategic plan goals. This is more than just, here's how you apply, here's how you enroll. It is about connecting students, with other staff on campus. Because many of our student leaders say, oh my gosh, you guys have so many things, you're doing so much incredible work, but I didn't know about it. And so that's what the intention of the student community orientation is, to connect students with that work that we're doing. First year experience principals are going to be a big part of this, and this work is aligned with the work we're doing with guided pathways, the goals laid out in our student equity plan. And I'm sharing this because sometimes we get questions about, well, what about all this other work that we did and these other things we said we were going to do? Well, that's what the strategic plan has done a really good job of, is aligning all of the different things we said are important to us that we need to do for students. So it's not something extra. It is affirming the work that we have done. I do want to talk for a minute about innovation and technology, because those are also important ways on how we support students and create a space of belonging. Many of you know that we are currently transitioning from a homegrown student information system to Banner. Part of that would be a new student experience platform that would make it easier for students to apply and enroll, find resources, and get help. So we're really excited about that, and we are working directly with students and other folks who are helping students in that. Fraudulent enrollment is a problem. We know that. And it's not just a problem for us here at the JC. It is something that community colleges across the state are encountering. So there are some technology tools through Banner and also tools that the Chancellor's Office is offering. So please know that we are working very hard with many of you also in this room and on Zoom who are helping us with this. So please know that we're continuing to try to stay on top of all of the new innovation and technology to make sure that we can support students. And so none of this will happen in isolation. And I hope that once you've heard everything from us, you're really excited, like, oh my gosh, how can I get involved? I want to be part of this work. So going back to what Dr. Garcia mentioned earlier, so we've done a lot of work with many of you on revising the participatory governance structure. And that's the way to get involved. That's where the work happens. So if you've heard us today and you're like, I want to be part of that work, please reach out to either your department chair or your supervisor and be able to get engaged in this. And then I say one last thing. I want to go back to something that John Stover talked to us about coming together with collaboration, and you mentioned love. And that really resonated with me because one book that I always go back to is Bell Hooks' book about love. And so it's not like the romantic, lovey-dovey love. That's one type of love. But what we're talking about is the love where we believe in the potential of another person. We hold that belief. And that's what we do. We show up. We believe in our students. We believe in our team members. And that's how we show up with love day after day, even as we are carrying the heaviness of everything that's happening around us. I'm showing up because I love what I do. And I'm showing up because I want to do this work with you too, and I invite you to partner with us. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Molly. I love that response, and I think it actually goes into a really good segue to some of the conversations that Aaliyah and I have been having about finding that love as employees, right? And finding our own community as well as employees and creating that sense of belonging. So Aaliyah, in your 3-4 months on the job now, probably, how are you thinking about that when it comes to building the foundation for employees when it comes to trust and collaboration and the love that we do for our jobs, that we have for our jobs?
First off, you're speaking my love language with bell hooks, and so I'm grateful to, thank you, sorry. When I look at where we've been, that cultivating belonging and trust has been at the forefront of what we've been doing over the last year. And so I'm excited to come in after that groundwork has been laid, because I heard you loud and clear. You wanted modifications to accommodations. You wanted modifications to the onboarding process. You wanted modifications in the process and the way that we communicate. And I'm grateful that I've had partners to be able to do that work. But ultimately, when I look at belonging, I look at, in the same way that Molly is cultivating those programs for students, we need the same programs for our staff and faculty. We need the same programs that you can feel connected to the institution in the same ways, so that we're creating these proactive approaches to connection. When I look at where we've been and where we're going, I'm looking at a recruitment process that modifies our EEO strategies, that modifies these strategies to ensure equity is occurring in many facets. Public speaking is not my thing, so I'm just going to talk to you. How about this?
I got you.
Helping the helpers is the reason I do what I do. Honoring where students are going is one thing, but helping the helpers is why I'm here. When I look at what we're faced with, both as a nation and as a community, I know that you need support. I know that you need support from the time you come in to the extent of your career. And to have employees that are here for 30, sometimes 40 years, those supports may be different. And so I'm really looking at evidence-based practices that capture the voice of what you've already communicated to create structures that support our employees and staff. The challenges that we have in front of us impact us both interpersonally, as a campus, and as individuals in our homes. And so how can we design supports to help you do the work? That's where I want to move forward.
Yeah, thank you, Leah. So I know we're coming up on our time here a little bit, so I'm going to jump forward a couple of questions here. You know, you talk a lot about building the kind of culture that we want to build trust and collaboration, but we also have to just be candid about fiscal responsibility and where we are, the fiscal realities kind of shaping that work. So Kate, given those realities, including the constant fluctuation from a state and federal funding perspective, how is SRJC, how are we approaching long-term financial planning? And what are some of those strategies and frameworks guiding the thinking this year?
Good morning, everyone. Thank you for the question. It's one I actually think about quite a bit, so I really appreciate the opportunity to share it with you. I really tend to think about this in three ways: where we came from, so that built our foundation for where we are right now, as well as where we need to head. So when I started in this role about 7 years ago now, we were in a really difficult fiscal space. We created and implemented the long-range plan for fiscal sustainability together. That gave us the structure to make financial decisions that were in the best interest of us and our community. And it bought us time to plan and to stabilize and to ensure that our choices supported our long-term health. We really did incredible work in those years. And then the pandemic hit. You saw the FTES chart that Dr. Garcia shared a couple minutes ago. But what those charts don't show is the hard work we did to get us here. We cut a lot of expenses. We built plans, and we built up our reserves. That has helped to carry us to here. It has allowed us to respond deliberately instead of reactively, and to keep our eyes on the future instead of going into a short-term crisis mode. That said, as you've heard, what's ahead isn't going to be easy. We have a lot of work to do to get back to the FTES funding or level that meets our funding. And our reserves are only going to carry us so far. We're planning for the possibility of no federal funding. We know there's no new ongoing state funding coming in until we hit that 17,500 FTES. And as Dr. Garcia mentioned, that means any new budget allocation has to come from somewhere else. So thanks to the contributions of everybody here and across the college, we have a revised governance structure. We have a strong strategic plan, and we have real momentum on our strategic enrollment management plan. Now we need to bring that same intentional approach to our budget. So over the years, our budget has just rolled forward. We've added money where we've needed it. I often say that the budget drives the planning bus, and the bus isn't quite heading where we need it to go right now. So to address that, we'll be proposing to create a budget allocation model work group under the Planning and Budget Council. A little plug for some, if you want to join in, come join us at PBC. We have a great time. So the charge of the work group will be to recommend a fair, transparent, and data-informed approach to resource allocation that supports achievement of our strategic initiatives in our strategic plan. This will ensure that our budget has an equitable focus, it's aligned with our priorities, it's responsive to evolving needs, and it leaves space for innovation. Another key part of our long-term fiscal planning is the exploration of a new general obligation bond, as you've heard. So Measure H addressed many urgent needs, including this amazing space. But we had escalating construction costs, we've got aging infrastructure, and the changing needs of our community means our work is not done yet. A new bond would allow us to modernize more classrooms and labs, it would expand workforce training facilities, and we would be able to invest in sustainable, future-ready infrastructure for teaching, learning, and innovation. We are also in a unique position to make a commitment to the taxpayers that we can do this without increasing the current tax rate. Instead, we would simply extend the existing assessment further into the future. I really believe that these efforts will position us to become fiscally sustainable. We'll be able to be strategically focused and ready to meet the changing needs of our students and our community. But through it all, when the times are tight, I always bring it back to our students. As long as we keep them in our focus when we're making decisions, I truly believe we will be okay. Thank you.
Thanks. Thanks, Kate. I know we're running really tight on time, so we're going to wrap up here today. There's so much. We covered a lot of ground. There is probably a whole lot more ground that we can cover, from authenticity, how we lead, how we work together. But what I loved in putting this panel together was really just the tightness and the alignment of the group, and wanting to really support one another, to lead authentically from where we sit, and to really work in collaboration and in support of students. So thank you all for sharing that with me. Thank you for sharing it with this community. Thank you, community, for your input and your questions. It really helped to shape this panel. So with that, Dr. Garcia, I'm going to turn it back over to you to close us out.
Okay, thank you. I'm going to stay right here. I know I'm supposed to go over there, but I'm not going to do that. So I do want to thank our vice presidents, and Sarah, thank you so much for joining me up here in this conversation, and to all of you for showing up. Whether you're here in person or you're joining us via the live stream, I do appreciate you participating, because this is part of engagement. I was joking, not joking, with the team a little bit yesterday. I said, I want to rephrase how we consider this idea that we're just in meetings. What if we're not just in meetings as this like technical thing? What if we're in spaces where we're creating opportunity for engagement and connection? And then I realized that's just me trying to make myself feel better, that I'm just going back to back. But truly, within those meetings is when I get to connect and engage. And I think about the leadership that it takes to run this district is not just in the titles of the folks who are sitting on this stage. It is from your constituency group leads. So I really want to make a plug of gratitude for the constituency group leads with the Classified Senate, with SEIU, with Academic Senate, AFA, the Student Government Assembly. Thank you so much. So if we can give our colleagues in those spaces a round of applause. And truly, leadership is also happening when you are revising your lesson plan, when you're looking at your curriculum, when you're planning an event for students. It requires a level of engagement. And so at the beginning of the summer, I was in a particular mood, and I was thinking, like, what do we need to do, and how can we let students and the community know that we are serious about supporting them, that we are serious about educating them? And so the managers, the administration team went through a really heavy series of development over the summer. And the way that I think about it is that was my opportunity to lesson plan. That was my opportunity to collaborate. And at the beginning of the summer, I started with the President's Cabinet with this. And so I was asking myself the question around leadership and around grounding it for students, and this is what I came up with. We don't just lead, we defend what matters together. We protect opportunity, inclusion, and justice by building community in all we do. We're not just reacting to change, we are engineering the next era of excellence for students, colleagues, and our community through collaboration and collective leadership. We boldly lead for equitable outcomes and experiences for SRJC students and colleagues, anchored in trust and a shared commitment to community. I really believe, and I'm feeling more strongly than ever, this notion that we defend what matters together. We are in a fight right now to defend public higher education. We are in a fight to make sure that students and members of our community do not get shut out from having access to academic and career training. We are in a fight to make sure that we are contributing to changing the narratives that are being spun about the very people that we love and care deeply about. And so with that, what I would love to do is, I'm gonna end with this, because it's, for me, I think what this team has embodied and what I see when I interact with each and every one of you. It is a poem dated back to 1971 by Luis Valdez. And it's called En la Quech. I am you or you are me. I'm going to read it in Spanish first, and then I will read it in English. Tú eres mi otro yo. Si te hago daño a ti, me hago daño a mí mismo. Si te amo y respeto, me amo y respeto yo. You are my other me. If I do harm to you, I do harm to myself. If I love and respect you, I love and respect myself. When John was sharing earlier about queer joy and love, this is what came up for me, right? It's that notion that I don't have to agree with the perspective all the time with my colleagues. We don't have to necessarily say, hey, that's a person I want to spend my personal time with. But in the work that we do to defend what matters, we absolutely need to believe in a level of respect and love and professionalism and expertise. And so with that, I invite you to go into today's activities with a space of open and learning, with that opportunity for connection and engagement, and join us in continuing to do the very good work that students, when they show up on Monday, whether it's online or in person, we know that we are giving them the absolute best and the high academic quality that they know and that they deserve. So thank you all so much and have a wonderful day.
Hey everybody, I'm Alexa Forrester. I'm one of the faculty professional development coordinators. I just want to say thank you to our panelists, and just a couple announcements as everybody is packing up to go. The coffee and refreshments are available in the Lindley common space downstairs. There's also tables with your union leadership, so stop by for some swag and snacks. And our workshops begin at 10:20. So thank you all. It was great hearing from you, and thanks for coming.